Joining us now for analysis, American law professor Jessica Levinson of Loyola Law School. First, the DACA decision. Can you clarify some of the implications of the president's executive order now that he's basically punted the issue back to Congress and put it in their hands?
Well, he sort of said two things. He said it's going to end if Congress doesn't do anything. And then he said, well, I'm giving Congress 6 months to figure it out and maybe nothing will happen. So in terms of what's happening right now, I mean, there's a lot of proposals in Congress to try and pass either the DREAM Act or some version of it. But the practical implications are that there are a lot of people who feel incredibly unsettled, who already feel like it's almost certain that it'll be rolled back again because President Obama implemented DACA as an executive order because Congress wouldn't act on this issue for so long. And people don't feel optimistic that they'll act now, which means people are being forced underground. People are not being hired for jobs that they otherwise would be hired to do. People are not availing themselves of the protections. And so people are in this terrible limbo, people who know no other home than America. And for many people, Los Angeles.
You know, a lot of people who are in favor of the president rescinding DACA say, well, you know, it's not our fault, it's your parents' fault, and, you know, this isn't something that we need to deal with. What do you say to the people who say that?
Well, I mean, I think this idea of fault is an interesting one. So what President Obama said is if you came to this country through no fault of your own, and he used the word fault, I believe, in a number of the statements that he made around the creation of DACA, and you are otherwise a law-abiding citizen and you contribute to the community, then you deserve to be able to not fear deportation. So one of the things he did is he used his prosecutorial discretion to say these are not the people who are high priority to be deported. And he also said, I'm allowing you to get work permits, come be employed, pay taxes. And so this issue of fault is a really interesting one, and people use the word on both sides.
But he also said, President Obama also said this wasn't going to last forever, which is another thing people who are in favor of rescinding DACA point out.
That's exactly right. The way I read that, and I've looked back at that statement, is really President Obama saying, he was a constitutional scholar and saying, I know I'm doing this by executive order, and I'm just trying to implement something so that there are a number of people who can stay here without fear of being deported, who don't have to live underground, and who can get work permits. People are using that idea that it was just temporary and as the kind of impetus for so we can roll it back. I think it was just him trying to contain the political backlash.
All right, moving on to our current disasters right now, Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Irma. The president has taken some criticism, first initially with Harvey on he was criticized for not interacting with people who directly affected by Harvey and, you know, the damage it caused to the city of Houston and its suburbs. Also, he's been criticized for saying that the Coast Guard has now gotten a great opportunity to brand itself. It's branded itself better than they ever could because of Hurricane Irma, which, you know, a lot of people took offense to because the Coast Guard is not there to brand themselves. He took a lot of heat for these things, but he also approved a $15 billion disaster funding bill before he left for Camp David. So what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on this one is actions speak louder than words, and people really needed that relief, and people need the $15 billion. And so to the extent that he signed it and he said the relief is coming, I think that's the most important thing. The truth is these images that we all crave and desire of presidents handing out food packages and medical packages, there's not a lot of people who are going to be able to eat or sleep better because President Trump worked with them one-on-one. It's something that we view in our American political narrative as important, that our president is a man of the people. And it feeds into the idea that he's very wealthy, he's removed, he's not on the ground. But, you know, in terms of the true importance is that he used his authority as the chief executive and he said, the relief is coming to you. His comment about branding, I mean, this is, I think, how he thinks. He's a business person and he uses the vernacular of a business person. Everything is like a private enterprise to him. And so the Coast Guard is a brand. The truth is, if the money is coming to them, then I think we should let him use whatever word he wants.
All right. Loyola Law Professor Jessica Levinson, thank you for joining us tonight.